You passed your luck check. It's
The No Class Livecast
with your hosts, Eddie,
and Matt,
and our first special guest.
John
John
Watson,
Watson. Oh, sorry, I didn't know if I was supposed to introduce myself. I
the
probably
man, the
Wait,
myth,
line?
the legend.
A man who gets no introduction, John Watson.
Hope that's because
Welcome
none.
back to the show.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back here.
Apparently, you did good enough the first time that we called you over to the couch for another one.
Oh, the couch. Don't say that word.
For the
Please
new
don't.
Matt Couch.
Maybe he'll creep up.
So let me talk about the first big news that we have. If people haven't heard it, this one's for our buddy Matt. He is now engaged. So let's give him a little round of applause for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. She's a rare gem. She doesn't have brain damage. And she said yes.
So for you podcast listeners, this is the Heather you've heard so much about. And attendees of the Long Con last year, you probably met her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I did. Very lovely lady.
you.
Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm blessed. And she'll be at North Texas with me. Wouldn't miss it.
Don't jump ahead.
I wouldn't. I don't want to talk about those degenerates.
Yeah, they're troublemakers.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got John back to talk with us about a Kickstarter that is upcoming that we thought would be going on right now, that we'd be late for it, but now we're early, so that's a good thing.
Yep,
we're going to talk about Heck Train.
Yes, the old Heck Train, and here's the proof for everybody that thought maybe it didn't exist. It's the proof it actually does exist now. So
it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful, great work. And there's the back. Anybody want to see it? Yeah.
Ooh la la.
But yeah, you're absolutely right, Eddie. We did have a little bit of a delay on the launch that I decided upon with Mr. Goodman and Mr. Beatty, the Dark Marshal and Dark Master, respectfully. We will be launching on the 30th, May 30th. So mark that on your calendars. Got some good stuff that will be launching along with it. And those of you who don't know about Hell Train, it's a Weird Frontiers adventure, which is a DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics compatible system in the Weird West, made by the Dark Marshal himself, David Beatty. And Hell Train is a first level adventure that takes place in, I believe, your hometown, Matt, Jefferson, or were you just
not
joking
my
around?
hometown, but I am a big fan of Jefferson. I love to visit there. It's a neat town. I'm not a Jeffersonian, but I do love East Texas, and I love that little town. It's got neat history.
Yep, it really does, which it actually was a railroad town. So I was like, perfect, because I felt when writing this, we needed to do more of that to celebrate and such. But Hell Train takes the posse to Jefferson, Texas, where they come across a problem in the town where the dead or people are dying. Nothing strange there in Weird Frontiers, especially if you played a funnel and anything DCC, lots of death, but they're not staying dead. So the posse has to investigate things, and then comes across the fact that the train, the station, at night, there's a train that blazes by, but nobody can actually see it. And then they have to go into the spirit realm, or the near, as it's called in Weird Frontiers, to find out what's going on. And they discover that the train should be stopping to port the souls to the afterlife, but it isn't. And then they have to board and, figure out what's going on exactly, which I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But let's say things
anyway.
are. What's that?
Not for free.
Yeah, not for free. Exactly. Yeah. So, but the Kickstarter will, of course, include a physical copy of the adventure. Also, PDF version is available as well. If you did miss out on the Weird Frontiers core book, I've arranged with Mr. Beatty to add an add-on for the PDF, so you can get a copy there as well. Also, there'll be higher tier levels where if you want me to run a game for you and your posse online remotely, you can up for that. Also, there's going to be a special engineer tier where I will host a game for you at the Long Con in the fall. And you'll get to see the table, play with me for not actually Hell Train, but to play the unrevealed and unplay tested sequel to, Heck Train. It's Heck Train now.
Heck Train 2.
Yeah,
The
Heck
train
Train 2, working title. So that's pretty much the Kickstarter. Well, pardon me, some stretch goals as well. On those that have played Heck Train or Hell Train, at one part in the adventure, there are different encounters that can happen, options for different things. If we get high enough on there, there will be two different encounters that are right. One will be a stampede. The other one, well, we'll see what that one will be. A little bit of a secret there, one of a little mystery. As well as if we get high enough, and I did partner with the Dark Marshal himself about this. I did write up a new class that's Weird Frontiers compatible called the Skinwalker, which is a cursed shapeshifter also. That, again, like I said, the Dark Marshal has approved. That'll be fully fleshed out if we hit that stretch goal. And then finally, there's other things like some pre-generated characters that will actually be tied in with their history and backgrounds to the adventure to make it a little bit more enjoyable, and some other goodies in there for stretch goals. So excited to finally launch it. I know most of you were like, it's about freaking time, because I've had this, it's been in the works for probably too long. But yeah, finally able to get it out there and to everyone else. So.
Well, that's awesome, man. I love it. Takes place in East Texas, near and dear. And I know, when was the first time you ran that? Where did you first play test it?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was at the Long Con. Yeah,
2019.
positive that was. Yep, in 2019, absolutely.
So people will know they can trust that you have had ample time to play test this. And also, just so they know some of your acumen, haven't you actually helped work on the actual core book itself?
Yes, that's a good point. I did do a little bit of work on Weird Frontiers, play tested, and yeah, did a little bit of writing on it.
Wow, writing. So yeah, so we know we can trust you. This is going to be a great adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. And play testers, I mean, even to show you this is the proof, there's quite a few listed right here in there, a bunch of credits on people, maybe some names you recognize. So, but yeah, did due diligence play testing, got some great feedback, had other GMs run it too, because I think with game design, a lot of times those of us that have written adventures, sometimes as a GM, we leave out things because we just think of it that way. And that's why it's good to have other people look at it and actually run that material too, so they can be like, hey, this didn't, what do I do here? How do I connect these dots? So
yeah, or things that are in your brain and didn't make the paper. And you're like, oh yeah, I thought I'd fully explain that. And you talk
exactly.
about any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, since we have so many local folks around here that might be in the East Texas area, are there any sites in East Texas or Jefferson that they could check out and go, hey, that is from the adventure or something? Somebody needs to run that in Jefferson now.
Yeah, hey, maybe that'll change.
We can make that happen.
Actually get a hotel in
at the
Jefferson.
Train station.
Go tour the train station, or hey, maybe take a train ride running in a car. That'd be awesome, actually.
Yeah,
should have thought that through. But no, besides the train station and the town, I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to make it its own thing. So that's pretty much it. Now the sequel, that's going to be a little bit of a different story. So, but I don't want to reveal too much about that. But it's going to be a very, very different adventure. And don't worry. I mean, somebody did make a joke when I talked about this on social media. You won't feel like you're railroaded, even though there's a train here. It does have, like I said, open even to where some of the encounters can change completely. And it has, rules for that in there and explanations of how to do that.
Okay. I guess we can't get a link for the Kickstarter yet, can we?
Not just yet, unfortunately. It will be ready. It is ready. It's just for those who don't know the process, Kickstarter has to review everything to make sure it's kosher, meets their standards, etc. I did let many people look at it in addition to them before I even sent it off to them, including some of the fine gentlemen on this call here, which they gave their blessing and critiques as well, which gentlemen appreciate that feedback you gave me. So it is good to go. Just waiting for that final blessing, which should be tomorrow is the date that they gave me. And then we will launch again on May 30th officially.
Okay, so when this comes out on YouTube, we'll have a link put in there. So if you happen to be watching this in a timely manner on YouTube, the link will be there and you can click right on it and go and support John.
Yes, which I appreciate.
Are there any other projects you're working on currently?
Well, funny you mentioned that. So maybe there's somebody else on the call, or honestly, both of the people on the call that helped me with a brainchild I formed after leaving the Long Con one year. where I was thinking, hey, what is something? Because there's all sorts of there's Weird Frontiers, there's Mutant Crawl Classics, Un America. Gosh, there's the comic crawler that's out now, kickstarting.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things. There's even Starcrawl. There's that one as well, and even a digital one. I think it's called Cyber Crawl Classics or something like that.
Cyber Sprawl Classics.
Cyber Sprawl. That's what it is. And I was thinking, there's got to be something we're missing, and it just occurred to me, monsters, playing the monsters. Goblins, orcs. All sorts of nasty creatures like that. And I approached you two fine gentlemen. I was like, hey, what do you think of this idea? Which you were like, hey, that sounds awesome. And Mr. Beatty around the same time as well. He's like, yeah, that's a really cool idea, John. And then Eddie, kind of took some of my notes and was like, oh, this is awesome. And just added to it. And I was like, sir, would you like to do this with me? And he agreed to, which Matt's given us a lot of feedback and advice as well. But you'll be able to play certain character. So the difference between HCC, its working title, we haven't settled on that yet. We want to make sure we get Mr. Goodman's blessing as well from the good people there at Goodman Games. You don't actually, so there's not like, in the funnel for DCC, you could roll human and then you could play a fighter, or a warrior, a cleric, things like that. In this, your race and your class, that's all there is. So you're a goblin. You're a toag, which is this kind of thought-eating creature cross between a toad and a human that's humanoid that uses psychic powers. Might be similar to something else.
But very legally distinct.
Yes, very legally distinct. Exactly.
But I love how every one of these has a lot of flavor to set them apart. You guys have done a phenomenal job making each one of these race classes very distinct. I'm really, anyway.
Well, thank you. No, I'm happy to hear. And that's something, collaborating on that, Eddie, and even you, Matt, just some great ideas you guys have given. And I can't remember who it was. We haven't worked this one out yet. And I'm going to throw a big spoiler here, Eddie. So you might punch me later when I see you in a couple of weeks at North Texas RPG Con. But the Etten, I can't remember whose idea that was. But we are going to work that out. So it was Eddie's idea. Okay. But we are going to work through creating that, which will have 2 players controlling 1 character. It's going to be, we're going to have to handle that one quite delicately, but we think it can be a lot of fun and work well. But some of the other race classes we developed, there's also the Hag, which is the game's spellcaster. But, what's kind of different about them is that they want corruption. So they want to become this, disgusting thing because that's how they power their spells even more. There's also I always mess up the pronunciation of this, Eddie. Dybbuk, okay. The Dybbuk, which is a spirit, this evil spirit that jumps from corpse to corpse, and that's the power of the creature. What it does, you're actually the spirit. So you could say, inhabit the body of a fallen knight, or if the party comes across and is lucky enough to kill something like a dragon, there's no reason why you couldn't jump in it there. They do have disadvantages, of course, where they cannot heal, and then when they're pushed out of a body, there's consequences for that, and they're very vulnerable in their spirit form, so they don't want to lose their flesh if they can help it. Again, we've also created things like orcs, which are very strong. And if the more orcs you get together, the more they work themselves up, deal more damage. And then you can play as a group of goblins. So like a whole group of goblins, not just one goblin, but you got your 0th level goblin, then your 1st level goblin, then your 2nd, your 3rd, and so on and so forth. So that's a lot of fun too. One of our friends, Andy, play tested that for us and had a good time with it. So I don't know if you had any thoughts real quick on it, Eddie.
The only thought that I'll give on it, because we're tying it up real nicely to go into the NTRPG crew, we're going to be talking about this a lot at NTRPG. A lot of people are going to do a lot of play testing for us at NTRPG. And if I get my way, you'll be seeing it sooner rather than later. But somebody's going to have to help me twist John's arm because I can't do it by myself.
It's all right. You both can do it. Gang up on me.
Really excited.
DCC crew.
Super excited. Really excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. And maybe maybe we'll wrangle Matt into writing adventure as well.
For sure. All right. One more plug before we let you go and go over to the NTRPG guys. It is the Heck Train.
Show them the image here. There you go. Hell Train.
And when do you think we'll get it again?
So it will be launching on May 30th, and I put a date of mailing them out by November, but it'll highly likely be much sooner than that. So
great. All right. Well, I can tell by the clock on the wall that you're all out of hit points. We'll be back with the NTRPG crew, guys, after this. And our producer passed her luck check. We're back with the NTRPG guys, Bad Mike and Gary. How are you guys?
Good.
I'm fine, but I just spent 15 minutes in the green room and I didn't get any snacks or drinks, so I'm a little torqued. A little torqued, you guys.
Living room table, so we just eat the cheese and crackers he leaves out for us.
Thank you. Thanks for nothing, guys. Thanks for nothing.
You're welcome as always.
Only the best for you, Mike.
But when I feel out of place, looks like we have a lot of NTRPG Con shirts here, except for myself. I'm wearing a ShareCon shirt. Gary's got his shirt.
Tom owes you like money.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I'm into that guy for so much now that I've got to wear all clothes for advertising ShareCon all the time. I have a tattoo. You want to see the tattoo?
Yeah. No. We'll pass.
Okay.
There goes our PG rating.
PG.
Okay.
All right, guys. So I'll probably mess this up. Is this year 15?
15.
Wow,
Yes,
that
sir.
is incredible.
Wow.
Congratulations. How did you do it?
I would like to chalk it up to hard work, but that's not true. So
Luck had an no. So when Doug and I started this, we said that we're going to do something, and even if it stinks, we're going to do it for 20 years, no matter what. And at the time, I don't think we were really thinking 20 years. That was like so far. This is like 2009. That's way in the future. So we're just like, let's just get through every year and see how it goes. And Doug was never about making money in this con, as you know. It was just about having a good time and having his close.
vacation.
Yeah,
to him, it was his vacation.
It was his closest friend. He used to say that all the time. It was his close. He wanted it started out his closest 100 friends, and it was his closest 300, and now it's his closest 500 friends. And so we're just keeping the train rolling, man. We're just going to keep going as long as we can. Because I mentioned that to Gary, and Gary got all panicked and said, "You're not going to quit after 20 years, are you?" I'm like, "I'll be 65, dude."
I saw your show, and I had a panic attack. Well, we'll just have to see what happens. I'm like, oh, no.
I may only have 5 years left in me. I mean, like, on the earth. I mean, come on. I'm an old guy. I'm really old. So
then you got to start your 20 years, Gary.
That's when his 20 years starts, right? When I stamp my, I'm through.
Wow.
You know
So
what?
your sentence
We're
start.
going to just duct tape you to a rascal, a hover round, Mike, and we're going to roll you out. We'll get a little remote control. We'll keep you out there, man.
I wonder those little carts. If I get a cart like Tim Cascat, I might make it another 10 years. You never know.
There you go.
Those things are awesome.
Nice.
Okay, we've got a couple of beautiful images to put up too that you guys won't be able to see.
Oh boy.
Chit chatting here, but let's see what we've got. Feel free to chat along while we pull those
Okay.
up.
Do we have to act shocked? I mean, we can't see him, but we have to act shocked.
There's Doug.
Look at that. Look at that
Dragon mode.
image. Okay.
So
I'm sure everybody here should know, but if they don't, so how did North Texas first get started?
Well, Doug wanted, so I went to Gen Con 2007, 2008, and I didn't even play any games there. I just hung out with people that I met online. And I came back, I was telling Doug, man, it was so much fun. We had a great time. And, I played a couple games. And Doug said, we could just do that at my house. Because Doug was very famous, and Gary could tell you this. He just would have everybody over at his house. He had a pool, and he'd just make these gigantic barbecues and whatever. And so he said, well, we could do that. So he invited a whole bunch of people over to his house. I mean, a whole bunch, 15 or so. And he's like, hey, why don't we just have a con? We could just do our own convention. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so I didn't think much about it. Then February the next year, he goes, hey, are we still going to do that con? I'm like, oh, we're doing it? Yeah. Nobody said anything. And so, we went and got a local La Quinta. We got the conference room. We could fit about 4 tables. Another table went in the closet. You could fit one table in the closet.
There were 5. There was a table in the closet.
That's a table in the closet. And we had about 55 people show up. Most of them were KM members, the Collectors Guild that's online, and just friends and, close people. Now, Gary didn't show up that year. He thought he did. He showed up to unload drinks, and then he...
So the first year of the convention, there were actually 32 people that showed up, and I helped Doug set up all the stuff in his backyard the coolers, we got everything loaded. I got the day before, but then and what was hilarious was he just told me he was having a party. He never said what it was. And so we had this family camping trip that we went on.
He didn't want Gary to come. So
we go on this trip. Then the next year he goes, "Hey, I need you. You want to help me with that convention thing?" I said, "What convention?" He goes, "The thing you helped set up last year. That was a convention." I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Because so the first year we paid for everything. You didn't have to buy tickets. You just had to show up. And Doug had a barbecue at his house. So we were in La Quinta in Bedford, and he rented a bus for everybody to jump on, drive all the way to South Arlington to his house. Then afterwards, they all jumped in the bus and headed back. And that's just the kind of guy Doug was.
He pictures of it this year in the program. Yeah. There's pictures of it.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And so the first year I was trying to keep it cheap, and so we said, well, let's just get local special guests. So we got Janelle Jaquays, who was she's in Rockwall, very close. Dennis Sester is in Arlington. So we just try to find people, and Doug just called up Tim Kask and Frank Metzer and Rob Kuntz and said, hey, you want to come to our con? Like, yeah, I mean, if you pay our way, we'll come, whatever. So Doug paid for everything the first year, everything. So everybody showed up, no charge on anything, because this wasn't ever about making money. It was just about, like Gary said, this is Doug's vacation every year. He just wanted to have fun and have a good time. And so it went pretty well. Like I think plus special guests and walk-ups, we had about 50. I thought it was 55 here, 53,
there
55.
32 attendees plus 22 special guests. So right at 50.
So anyway, we had a bunch of people show up.
I'm the keeper of the numbers. I have the
spreadsheets too. But I mean, so anyway, we had a good time, and hey, let's just do this again. It just kind of blossomed from there. And then we were very famous for being a small con, because Doug has no fear. He called everybody in the industry. He called Elmore. He called Weiss. He called Hickman. And by the way, they've all been to our con. Larry Elmore's been there. Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hickman. He had no fear. He just called anybody up. He didn't act like he was only running a con for 500 people. And he would tell them, like, hey, we got this con, and and they would, for the most part, they would show up. I think I'm trying to think the only guest he really never got, he invited Monty Cook a few times, and Monty couldn't come, but Monty and him had a good relationship. They used to talk on the phone a lot, and he just said, I just can't come this year. I can't come. But other than that, I can't think of anybody that Doug really didn't get that he wanted to call. I mean, that he wanted at the con. He would call them, and a lot of times they would come, because Doug was just that kind of an outgoing, charismatic personality that would talk them into coming to this little con. And he would stress the fact, look, it's a little con. You only have to run 2 games. Just hang out, have a good time. We don't have any VIPs. There's no, VIGs, anything. You just hang out and do whatever. And most people think that's pretty cool, because a lot of cons they go to, the con puts them to work. It says, hey, we're paying for your trip here. We're paying for your room. We need you to work. I mean, like you guys are special guests, and we don't ask you guys to do anything, because,
I'm gonna have to drop a bus or something, but that's it.
So, but
I remember unloading some stuff last year, don't you, Matt?
Okay, but that was voluntary. We didn't make you show up. But the other thing too that was, I think, a testimony to this whole thing is Doug did reach out to these people. But for example, we still have, even today with Doug gone, we still have people like, for example, Jeff Easley, who reached out to me and said, oh, by the way, I've had my knee surgery and I can't come, but I still want to do a painting. I'm like, okay, awesome. And so we still have these good relationships with these people that have come many, many times. Tim Kask, I mean, he said, I can't travel anymore over long distances. His kids don't live in Texas anymore, so that incentive went away. So he's not going to make it. But we've had plenty of other people who said, "Yeah, we'd love to come." So I mean, and then that's all kind of building off of that history with that Doug kind of established.
Sure.
And we built the con. Doug and I, when we sat down, I had been to a lot of cons. Now, I thought it was funny because Doug later on confessed he'd never been to a game con except for North Texas. I'm like, you're telling me all these things you like and don't like about cons? You've never been to, but he went to other conventions, a lot of other type conventions in his industry, just not game cons. But there's a lot of things we wanted to do that we didn't see other cons do. For instance, you've been to our con. We like to space out rooms. We have a lot of older guests and a lot of older attendees, and we have 2 tables per room. Exactly. And you go to most cons and they cram the space full because they're trying to get as many events in there as possible.
And we always believe rooms,
very spread out.
And the 3 big rooms that we do have more than 2 tables in, there is 10 to 12 feet easily between each table. And I mean, the two big Trinity rooms only have 6 tables apiece, and for banquets they put 40 in there. So I mean, I'm just saying, as far as spacing goes, there's plenty of room.
And then that's the way we are. I mean, that was the whole point, was we wanted people to come, not have to be crowded, not have to be in a room with a bunch of people that maybe they didn't take a shower the last couple of days. You know how that, you've been to cons, you know what I'm talking about. You get that one or two guys, you know, sometimes it's Eddie, but other time, most of the time it's just some rando. And yeah, so there's a lot of things that, you know, even though Doug's passed, we still keep his spirit alive by doing the things that he would like to do at conventions. He loved having a ton of special guests. Now, we have 500 people and we have 40 special guests, which is ludicrous. It's, yes, we admit, it is ludicrous.
50.
It is ludicrous.
10%. Yeah, that's great.
But that's what Doug wanted. Doug wanted a lot of people. He always said that he wanted the Archon to be one where people in the industry met and mingled and made deals and talked to each other. And that's why people would want to come, because they'd want to see other people in the industry. And I think it's turned into that. I think people
it's definitely turned into that. And for example, Frog God, you know, used to they haven't, and after post-COVID they haven't, but pre-COVID they had 3 of their company retreat conferences at North Texas.
Yep.
They would have they would get a conference room and actually have meetings for, you know, their company, their annual meetings at our convention. Yeah. So there's been a lot of intermingling of companies doing deals and Kickstarter ideas and things like that at the convention. So, but I think the other thing too, that, you know, Doug wanted it to be everybody mingle, but the other thing, I think the other aspect of it that has become kind of synonymous with it is Bill Barsh asked for people to post comments about the convention to put in the program this year. And I think the number one thing that came out of that, I mean, I got kind of emotional reading them, but there were some things in there that, it's a family reunion. It's the best event I go to all year. It's the thing that I wait all year for, you know, and so on. And, you know, I mean, there's some funny things like it's the family reunion you want to go to because you like the people there and things like that. I mean, but I mean, it was very nice. And it was just because people love the people. And I've met you guys. I've met other real people. I've developed real good close relationships, and I mean good friendships with, because of this event, and that I would have never met any other way. And when they show up, you know, big hugs, man. They'll jump across the table to give you a hug because they're so glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a year, and you know, it's just and it has expanded beyond that. I mean, for example, the guys in West Texas, they invited me to go out and do the ride along thing. I mean, I've come to LongCon a couple of times. We have phone conversations periodically, you know, once a month or so. So I've developed real friendships out of this because it's a great group of people who just want to play games and have fun.
One of my favorite cons is LongCon now, because you guys, you come to our con and we go to your con. We're like, this is so much like our con, except it's in East Texas. It's the same
wonder
thing.
why.
Because we ripped you off.
Because we ripped you off. Well, and I'll tell you, one of the best experiences I've ever had was being a special guest at LongCon. It was awesome. Mainly because I wasn't in charge of anything.
Right. Well, like Bad Mike told me at one of the NTRPGs, it's like nobody's having a worse time at your con than you. You're the one working it. You're the one juggling the plates and stuff, spinning the plates. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this before. Was we this will be our 13th time coming to y'all's con, and I think 13th. And, you know, love this con. And like you said, initially it was, I hear they've got Mintzner and Cask and all these Errol Otis and all that. But after the first couple of years, like, all right, we've seen those guys. We've got their autographs. What kept us coming back was it's such a phenomenal con. And like you said, there's that familial looking forward to all year long. I can't wait to see, you guys. And like you said, the West Texas guys and Bill Barsh. And I can go on and on. I don't want to leave anybody out. But you look forward to that so much. But the other thing was when we finally decided, inspired by North Texas, to do Long Con, the hope was we could see some of you guys twice a year, and that's starting to happen.
Oh
But
yeah.
we looked at what you guys did and said, well, that's okay, but let's try it different. And time after time, it would blow up in our face, and we go, that's why they do it that way. They've already figured this
We
out.
made all the mistakes already. Come on.
Yeah.
We already made those mistakes.
Well,
Yeah.
last year at Long Con, what was funny was I was having a blast. I was actually, in a couple of games, and I was just mingling whatever. Well, okay, a little of that too, but PG. And but at one point, Sean Pointer was there, and he and I got to talking, and we sat down behind y'all's front desk. Well, people started coming up, and I started checking them in. And he's just like, and Matt rocked and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I have it. I don't know. They asked for their badge. I gave it to them." So
Why not?
Well, it's funny.
Now, last year I missed the con. I will be here. I'm going to.
Yeah, he's coming
this
this
year. I'm coming this year. I had to cancel my vacation to South Padre Island, but yeah, it's okay. I'd rather spend the time in East Texas with a bunch of sweaty guys,
That's
playing
just
games. Yeah, I can't wait. No, our vacation, yearly vacation, got canceled due to my son's wedding. He'll be married that month, so it worked out. My wife could go to the wedding. I'm going to hit Long Con. It's going to be awesome.
Well, like we talked about, like family reunion, this is hopefully Long Con is the second chance that you get to see these people, except for me and Matt get to do the guest list. And before we get off the topic of Doug too much, this will probably get completely blown out on my green screen.
Oh yeah,
Let's
Let's see if you guys even remembered that I had this.
It's 2015. Is that 2015?
14.
Oh wow, you got
I
Doug.
you got-
shirt, baby.
Doug did not care about keeping his shirts. By the way, I've got his year one shirt, Gary, that we're gonna have to auction one of these days. I don't
frame it.
or maybe just keep it and frame
I
it.
got
I
that
have
one
his year.
Well, hang on.
$1,000.
Yeah, we'll need to talk because if we're going to auction it, I'm going to bid on it. So,
Or
but
maybe we'll just keep it and put it in a glass thing and
Yeah.
bring it to the con. I don't know.
we'll have
We
it
can do
off.
that too.
We'll have it off camera discussion about that. But
Oh, and of course,
Doug didn't keep all his shirts, and he always got like 4 or 5 printed for every year so he could switch out during the convention. But he also gave them away. We did them on Saturday auctions. We did them on midnight auctions. But also, his wife had a quilt made of all his shirts that were at the house, and which was kind of cool too. So, but I was funny because it wasn't very many. I mean, it was only like 8 or 9. I'm like, okay, there's literally probably 100 somewhere that so.
Well, one of the best gags ever was I auctioned one off at a midnight auction one year, and it has his name, Doug Ray, on the back, and Zach Glazer bought it. And so Zach Glazer thought it'd be hilarious to go around to Half Price Books and pick up books that Doug probably wouldn't read. And so I would take a picture, and you could see the book, and you could see Doug Ray, and the book would be something like The Sensitive Man, How to Get Along with Your Woman. So, and some I can't really say the name on this show, like we're PJ, but Zach and I laughed a lot. We got a lot of hilarity out of that. And
Well, somebody won one year, said they were going to rob banks with it.
the guy wore his name on the back of the shirt, but it had a cool dragon on the front, though, man.
Well, this is one of my retail stories that I love to tell all the time that you guys have heard a million times. But at one point, I sat down and looked at Matt and I said, I think Doug's got more invested in our con than we do cash-wise.
You know what? That's not unusual for him because he also financed AppleCon that Lloyd Metcalf ran. He liked to help people in the community a lot. He liked you guys a lot. He really did.
He had a huge heart.
He really liked you guys. And
I laugh. Like this was never spoken, but it always got there. But like Doug would just be like, "Wee," with money, and you're over here going, Doug, trying to rein him in and try to, don't do it. And he'd be like, whatever. Come on here, we'll give him $1 million. And you're like, come on, Doug.
I tried to channel Doug last year with y'all. I did sponsor a room, so I was trying to pony up. So
stepping up.
Yeah. That was really nice, you guys, to have the Doug Ray Memorial Room. That was 2 years ago. I guess you had it last year too. So that was,
it's
that
getting
was
better
awesome.
every year.
Yeah, that's great. That is great.
And if you do get that shirt put under glass or something like that, like if you guys want to bring some stuff for Doug, because we have up pictures and all that kind of stuff. But if you ever want to add some stuff to decorate that, we would love to have it out.
You'd be honored.
And We haven't got a 20-year contract for us though, but as long as we're doing Long Con, Doug will have a room there.
Excellent.
Well, can we talk about the con just a little bit, because we still have a few seats available.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Not a lot.
Are there any badges available for sale?
So total registrations right now are at 462. We are capping online at 500. I have had 4 cancellations in the last 5 days, but they were just family emergency type things. But even with that, we've added 3 or 4. We're still at 462. So we will do. I will leave registration open through the end of the week into Monday, into the holiday. Then I'll probably shut things down.
We did have that I forgot to tell you, that one supermodel canceled because she heard that Matt was getting engaged.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't tell you about that.
That was very disappointing. We were looking forward to that, and then you didn't.
She was really looking forward to it.
You screwed up everything.
She called us like 5 times, and she wanted to make sure you were there. And we said no, he's getting engaged. So she
inconsolable,
heartbroken,
broke hearts all over the world.
I'm telling you.
Sorry, ladies, off the list.
Oh yeah, off the list, baby.
Off the market.
I also you can put this out on your out on the obviously the live feed, but if it post it to YouTube later. Right now, I have an undetermined set. I'm guessing she didn't tell me exactly, but about 10 rooms available, and I've already had several people, including your prior guest, want to get some. So I'm building a list. I'll be submitting it to her tomorrow morning. But if people want to get a room at the Westin with our rate, please PM me on the Facebook thing on our page or whatever, or you can, I don't know, you got a way you want to just have them get in touch with me and I will get them on the list.
Okay. Yeah. The history
we
professor
actually
in
sold
our
out
chat
of
was
rooms.
asking about that.
We actually sold out of rooms this year. The first year that's ever happened where we ran out of rooms. So that's pretty cool.
And we have a very, very large room commitment as part of our contract, and we smoked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I'll say the Westin, the venue is amazing. Literally, those beds are so good. One year, I was like down in my back, and by the end of the con, it healed my back. I'm not exactly. Those beds are so damn.
They are. They're fantastic.
Good.
I've actually looked into contacting Westin to see where they get them so that I can purchase one. I love them.
Oh, they're phenomenal. But enough about the venue's phenomenal. But for the people that are tuning in that don't know, why should they come to your con? Well, one quick point I'll make, as far as Goodman Games, who is gracious enough to have us on here, how did I learn about DCC and all its other variants was at North Texas. Jim Wampler comes every year. Doug Kovacs is there a lot. And some other people, but there's always been
also a lot of vendors that sell Goodman Game stuff there.
Black Blade.
Yeah,
phenomenal collection.
Well, and so does Etten Games. I don't have a list in front of me, but yeah.
There's a lot of DCC games at y'all's con. I've went to some cons where they really don't have a lot of their, but there's a really strong contingent of DCC, MCC, etc. at your con. So
let's put it this way: it garnered its own section in the program. Let me go see how many are listed.
Well, a little known fact is Harley Strobe, who has not been back to the con in like 10 years, he ran the funnels test. He did test runs of the funnels at North Texas. Way back as we did before DCC ever existed. He was doing
we're big test runs down now.
We'd love to have Harley again. Harley was a great dude. He was
sounds like a great guy.
So yes, we have a history of the DCC there. Its DNA is mixed in our convention. I want to say that was like year 3. Way in the beginning we had Harley there. So
let's see here.
But I know I see Kovacs there a lot. Wampler's there every year.
By the way, Doug. So I talked to Doug Kovacs. He comes usually every year, and he hasn't come the last couple of years. And he cornered me at Gamehole and said, in that accent that's so hard to understand. I love Doug, but his accent's so thick. And he said, "How come you haven't invited me back?" I was like, "Oh, he goes, well, I guess since Doug passed on, I guess he and Doug had this relationship and that was something you find out. Doug talks to these guys on the phone all the time. You don't even know it. And then you find out after Doug passed away, like, oh yeah, I used to talk to Doug all the time. Like, what do you mean? I mean, I don't know what Doug Kovacs and Doug Ray had to talk about, but apparently they talked all the time on the phone. And I said, you know what? When you want, I said, well, we can get you back next year. We'd love to have you back. So we'll get him back. He'll be back next year if I can get him back. So
So
yeah,
I just did a quick look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 17 DCC games, six of which are Weird Frontiers, but there's a whole DCC section in the program, and then there's a Weird Frontiers section in there.
nice.
So
Nice.
total, it's 18. So there you go.
Represent.
Just saying.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago I did the math, and there was more DCC than 5th edition, if you can believe that.
Yeah, there's only 3 5th edition games. So,
But
Well,
the
5th
con
edition's on there.
it's very diverse. There's everything there. I mean, Gangbusters, Indiana Jones, the old Conan role playing game. I mean,
Boot Hill. I mean, how many cons have Boot Hill and Bunnies and Burrows?
there are 5
Bunnies and
Boot Hill
Burrows?
games. Yep.
Boot
And there's
Hill.
also
Yeah.
there's 6 Hyperia
Hyperborea.
Hyboria, yeah.
6 of them.
You have to lay, yeah.
So very
That's what-
diverse
that's what-
con, very diverse, old school, diverse, but yeah, a little bit of everything. Plus, what are some of your special guests you've got coming, guys?
Well, let's see.
You two, and then I thought that was it. Do we have
That's all
anybody?
you need. That's all you
You two, the Barshes, Chris Clark, Ben Burns, Levi Combs, Zeb Cook, Darlene, Jeff D, Kelsey Dion, Alyssa Fadden, Matt Finch, Rocky Gardner, Dr. Greg Gillespie, Skeeter, Green, Keelan Halverson, Alan Hammock, Rebecca Hyman, Genoa Quays, Diesel LaForge, Ian McCartney, Bill Meinhardt, Lloyd Metcalf, Stefan Courtney, James Raggy, Merle Rasmussen, Dr. Scott Robinson, James Shields, I'm working on it, Ken Spencer, Mike Stewart, Liz Stewart, Dr. Dennis Stair, Jeff Millennium, Amanda Paulsmer, Tom Wilson, and Steve Winter.
But who's your favorite?
Well, see, as you can see now, our guest here's the deal here's what's great about the guest host. You see, we span the early days of TSR. We've got Steve Winters, Zeb Cook, Diesel Force, Alan Hammock, Darlene. We got some of the greatest names, Jeff D, some of the great names early days of TSR. But we've also got some new people. Some of the, yeah, I mean, and I'm not just, I mean, Matt Finch, okay, you say he's new, but he's barely been around for 15 years. But we have, guys like Ben Barsh, who has written a lot for his father for Pacesetter. We have Keelan Halverson, great young artist. And of course, Kelsey Dion, whose latest Kickstarter just absolutely blew up for Shadow Dark. And, she's made a huge name for herself, and she's super excited about coming. But we're trying to get a little bit of everything, because the older guys, we used to have Jim Ward. Last year was Tim Cass last con, Frank Menzer. A lot of these older guys just can't make the trip anymore, which we understand. I mean, they're getting to the age where, it's just too hard to get on a plane and fly for, 6 hours or whatever. But so we're trying to get that mix in there, and I think it's a pretty good mix. We have people that come and they want to see the old guys, are the old guys, the mature people that come to our con. And we always get, like last year we had a young lady who came and she wanted to see Darlene. She's like, I heard you had Darlene at your con, and
She was falling all over herself.
Oh my gosh!
Just seeing it.
And we say, Darlene's she's having dinner right over there, and she's like, and her eyes just got that big.
I remember that. She was talking to Mike. And I've never seen anybody that excited to see anybody. I mean, it was like, wow.
And so she just sat there, and so that was the night that Lloyd was doing his art. Lloyd does a little art thing, I think on Friday nights when everybody goes and draws some stuff. And so she just sat there waiting for Darlene to get there with her meal. And it was great because Darlene came over and talked to her a lot and did a special drawing for her. And it was a very nice drawing. It wasn't just like, okay, whatever. She did a full sketch and wrote on the back like words of encouragement about being an artist, and it was just the most amazing thing. So it was great for the girl who came, wanted to see Darlene, and then Darlene got to meet one of her big fans, and so it's cool. And then we have some people that don't even know who these people are. They come because the newer people, they want to see when we announced Kelsey, and all of a sudden all these people like, wait a second, she's coming to Texas. Oh, I want to see. Yeah, I want to meet Kelsey. I mean, she's had a Kickstarter made $1.3 million. She's Shadow Dark's a 5e variant, and it's very popular. And then same with James Raggy. Once we said James Raggy doesn't go to any cons in the United States except for Gen Con. That's the only con he goes to. And so he's coming, and people were like, he's going to be at your con. And so all of a sudden, all these people, want to show up and see him. And I'll introduce him to you, man. You and him you'll bond. It'll be
Ask him where my judge book is at.
Where's my money?
Nobody has it. No, they say where everybody's is. Nowhere. Nobody has it. But yeah, so there's people like that we get there, and that people are just like, well, I wanted to come and see that one particular person. So we try to be diverse, because a lot of cons don't do that. They'll have the one token old school special guest, that one guy, and then everybody else are streamers you never heard of. Like, who's that? Matt and Eddie, who are those guys? They stream. So
Everybody loves us, admit it.
Well, they love you once they meet you, but before they meet you, they
And then once you get to know us well, they hate us. So
it goes. It's a range.
It's a
We
balancing
also had a
act,
request from the chat that you guys could get in Lorraine Williams.
Sure. Well, okay. Here's a funny story. A very funny story. Doug would ask anybody to come to the con. He did. I mean, he asked everybody. At one point he goes, what would you think if I had Lorraine Williams at the con? I said, well, first of all, she's not going to come to our con. She's, very wealthy. And I've according to her brother Flint, I think she lives in Europe now. She doesn't even come to the United States anymore. I said, she's never going to come. Second of all, people don't want to see Lorraine Williams at the con. She's a divisive force in the hobby. Well, I just thought that'd be kind of cool to have her, and just have her there and then maybe find out,
booth, maybe.
Hear what her side of the story is. I said, there's no her side of the story. She was, I mean, there's enough quotes from her. She was just in it to make money, and she made her money and took off. I mean, so Doug at one point thought it'd be cool to have Lorraine Williams at the con. And, knowing Doug, he probably looked into it and tried to find her phone number and couldn't find it. So,
definitely her side of the story should be told. And as the chat says, there would be lots of good questions for her, but would you get an honest answer? And would she ever come down from the mountain to talk to us gamers?
I don't think she cares. I have online. I'm an online buddy of Flint Dill, who's her brother, and they don't even talk a lot, her and her brother. But that wasn't her deal. She was just in this thing to make money. That's ever cared about. And she made her money even at the end when she ran to the ground. She still got a golden parachute to, out the door. So.
Mm-hmm. One thing I always liked about y'all's con is that through the years I brought some of my paraphernalia or whatever, and as long as you don't I don't run on somebody while they're talking, one of the old schoolers or trying to eat or whatever, but if you can catch them in between games, I've never ever had a problem with having someone, Merle Rasmussen, Errol Otis, whoever, signing it. And a lot of times the artist will put some little ditty in there. Mm-hmm. And I love that,
one of the biggest questions we're asked is, will these guys sign stuff? And we said, that's what they're here for. Yeah. The reason we only have them,
they don't charge a fee.
No, we only have them scheduled for 2 events.
Off. I mean, they're just around.
Yeah.
Yes. There's no VIP rooms. There's no green rooms. There's no VIG, areas, whatever. No, they're just with everybody else. And so that's one of the things we wanted about our con is there's no separation. And a lot of those guys are there to game. And Gary can tell you, I mean, Errol Otis, the years he's come, he plays in games the whole time. He loves to game. Steve Winter gets in games. Alan Hammond gets in games.
As a special guest, only has to run 2 games. He always runs 8. He just loves it. I mean, and so it's really great because the people that come are as geeked out about being there as we are having them there.
Yeah, they're cool. They're gamers. Yeah. One of my favorite stories from the earlier days, me and Eddie and his father-in-law had came to the con, and I think we were sharing, some rooms were adjacent on this one hall. And as we're going by, somebody was having a room party. I guess they had sort of put the word out, whatever. So already Jeff D's in there in a corner in the Lazy Boy, and he's holding court. And there are people just sitting around hanging on his every word. And he's talking about the hobby in the early days or whatever. And then they had this punch that whatever. And anyway, me and Eddie and Papa John are standing there, and who should walk in? There's Zeb Cook. So I engage him in conversation about that time. Diesel comes in. And so Zeb turns one now. Do you remember how that happened, Zeb? And he goes, oh, I remember. And they start talking about the good old days. And we're just sitting here just a few feet away going, oh, my God. And we're hearing all these amazing stories about the early days of TSR and behind the scenes and this
Nerf
and that.
Wars.
Yeah. It was so cool.
And that is very cool because there was just last year. This just happened last year. The Sunday night, the con's over, and there's still some people left behind because a lot of people don't leave till Monday. We're in one of the boardrooms upstairs, and Zeb Cook is holding court, and we're just throwing questions at him like, why did you write the Honeymooners game for TSR? Or and then I think one of the big questions, what was the big question? It was oh, it was about something that he did that was like real weird. Oh, the All My Children game. Like oh no, it was the Honeymooners game because we said, and so he had to go and like he was talking about going to some museum of television history, and he had one day to watch every Honeymooners episode. I mean, it's just telling these stories is just so cool because nobody knows this except for Zeb, and someday when Zeb passes on, nobody's going to know these stories, but we do now because he was sitting around telling us why. Because at one point TSR had this weird thing like, let's create all these properties out of TV shows like Cheers and Honeymooners and All My Children. And it's like, what? Why? You're making millions of dollars off D&D, but whatever. And so for some reason he was the one that got hit with all that to do that. And like, hey Zeb, this is what you're doing. You're doing the Honeymooners game. Why? Hey, he's just doing it. So
But see, that's the kind of stuff too. That's what's great about the convention. So you've got the games, and you'll be in a game for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, depending on the game. And then afterwards, it's these 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning conversations, not just with the special guests, but also amongst there's these people. Yeah, you'll sit in the thing and talk to Matt and Eddie till 3:30 in the morning about some.
Why do they have to talk? Why would you talk to Matt and Eddie at 3 in the morning? You could talk to Zeb Cook till 3 in the morning. I don't.
Well, I'm just saying.
That.
But what I'm saying is, it's Matt, Eddie, and
okay.
Zeb. They'll all be there,
okay,
and it's not about game. I mean, it could be something totally off the wall, and you're like, "What? Okay, how do we get on this conversation?"
Well, now, and see, even beyond people that are special guests, there's a lot of interesting people that come to y'all's con. I remember partying with the guy who did Dwarven Forge.
Now, come on, he's not a partier.
Well, Stefan's a special guest, and we love Stefan. Let me tell you, Stefan's a nice guy. He is because so Doug and him once again had a special relationship. Doug used to buy all the Dwarven Forge Kickstarters. After Doug passed away, the next year I came to Stefan at Gamehole Con. I said, "Hey, we'd really like you to be a special guest this year," and he said, "I'll come on one condition only." Okay, well, he goes, I'm paying my own way because you guys are starting up after Doug. I know you probably, I know Doug used to pay for that convention. I will pay my own way. I'll pay my own ticket. I'll pay this and that. I was like, I'm just, just hug the guy. I mean, Stefan, you're awesome. And then this year, I said, we want to have you back. And same thing. He's like, I'm paying my own way. I don't want you guys to pay for me because I just love to be there. I mean, he loves it because we give him a boardroom. He sets up all his Dwarven Forge. He's got all this stuff going on, and
his setup is elaborate. He wears a chainmail plate.
And if you can't find him, just listen for the tones of Black Sabbath,
heavy metal music from the 70s. Yes,
but funny story. So I had a meeting with the hotel people last week to go over last minute plans or whatever, and it came up in conversation. She said, "Do you still want us to reserve that room off the side of the bar for the guy with the radio?" And I said, "Yes, please."
He loved it. He got his own room to play his jam box. And I think it was Alan Hammock and I were sitting there with a bunch of other people, and we're just hanging out with him, listening to. I mean, because he brings this jam box to every con he goes to and plays it too loud, and it's just always annoying. And so we made a space for him. As we're listening to this tape, all of a sudden we start hearing like Billy Joel, and then the Carpenters were like, and we're going, "Oh, Stefan, what the hell?" He's like, "I like all music from the '70s. I like all the '70s music, not just heavy metal." And so it was hilarious because we're like, "What the heck is this? This is Billy Joel." It's like, I love all music from the '70s. So
you get an hour into the tape, it starts getting different.
Yeah, an hour into there, it starts getting into easy listening music. I've never listened that far into the tape. I didn't know there was any easy listening on there. Oh, but yeah, so it's great. It's great to sit there and just talk to those guys and hang out. And and a lot of those guys, look, you want to take them to lunch? Yes, just say, "Hey, you come to lunch with us?" Yeah.
And the nice thing about so other things that make the con special, as far as lunch goes, we have food trucks, we have the hotel has food, but the other thing is we actually have servers. We have people that come around to the tables, take food orders, take drink orders. They go get the food, bring it to you, so you don't have to interrupt your game. That's a whole nother thing. And I'm going to plug the Long Con guys. The servers, we sell the ability for them to wear a shirt of your choosing, and all day Saturday will be Long Con day.
Yes,
we'll be wearing Long Con shirts all day Saturday. So tip your servers. But anyway, but I mean, and so that's another thing too is at Gary Con or Gamehole Con, people don't come around and take your food order. I mean,
right.
and so that's
at Gary Con they kind of do, but it's not very reliable, and it's it's definitely not the quality of our service, because these are all professional. That's what they do. They're professional. What's the name of it? I can't. It's promotion girls. They do promotion. They're professional promotional girls. That's we hired. When Doug and I went there, we said we want somebody that knows what they're doing. And so we got professional promotional girls. And Jessica's been the head of our professional promotional girl department, which is one person, her, for the last 2 years. And so she's got us a bunch of girls this year, and she just does a great job. Everybody loves her, and the girls do a great job. It's just so cool to be sitting at your chair and then just have somebody go get you, food and drinks and everything.
But those are just the kinds of things that we try to do to make it better. To go back to what Mike said, to focus on the games. Doug says, well, it'd be cool if you didn't have to get up. Okay, well, there you go. Now you don't have to get up. And so that whole thing kind of builds off of that. The food truck thing, again, that just kind of evolved, especially when we moved to the Western, where we didn't have access to a lot of good restaurants close. We just brought that in. This year, guys, you're going to have to give me your honest opinion this year, but we do have a barbecue truck. I know you guys are big barbecue connoisseurs and all, but this will be your opportunity.
Gary's talked these guys up. He has talked them up. So
I have, and I'm hoping I don't have to eat my words, but I'm telling you, I've eaten a lot of barbecue myself. It really is the best stuff I've ever eaten.
Okay,
that's high praise. High praise.
Let me put this plug in there for you. If you're coming to the con, stay at the con hotel if you can in any way. Eat at the restaurant, in the hotel, utilize the food trucks, use all of these things, because that's going to make the con better for you,
right? Year
after year after year. They can get fancier and do more for you. So if you're like, but I can get the hotel down the road for $9.99, well, what kind of shape is that room going to be in, and how does that help our friendly local?
I mean, and let me just tell you about the rooms. Let me tell you about. So the rooms down the street might be $75 or $80, and our rate is we got it down to $120. I'm just telling you, for the nominal $20, $30, or $40 difference, it is a night and day different room, and you don't have to walk across traffic 100-degree heat. And so I just cannot get enough. But I will, to your point, Eddie, and I want to thank you for pointing that out. People always ask us, hey, how can we help the con? Hey, how can we help the con? And in their brain, they're thinking, hey, can I show up and help load, or can I sell something for you, or can I run the front desk? No, just use our facilities. Use the hotel, use the food trucks, use the servers, participate in the environment that we have provided, and that helps us the very most.
But buy from the vendors, buy raffle tickets. We have a raffle every year. Raffle tickets, that is. So some of our main ways of raising money are the auction and the raffle tickets. And raffle tickets. I mean, we'll have a solid auction again this year. We always have some good stuff up. So the
Saturday auction is going to be phenomenal. Mike has got that lined up. Yeah. I'm telling you,
there's good stuff.
Yeah.
If you can't afford it, just show up and watch the guys throw out. There'll be guys throwing out $100 bills. So go ahead and show up for that.
And so Mike organized it and got all the stuff together, but Jim Kitchen is going to run the auction. I will thank him in case he sees us. Thank you. He's going to do that for us. He does Gen Con, and he does Gary Con's auction.
He does Game Hole Con too.
Game Hole, there you go. So I mean, he's phenomenal, and we just are so grateful to have him do that. But Mike got everything lined out. Mike's in charge of all that, and the stuff we got is fantastic. So, but. Thanks, Jay, because that is the thing. People always ask, how can we help the con? Use the facility, participate, support the hotel, support the vendors, support the food trucks. That helps us the most.
And the vendors too. Buy stuff from the vendor hall. That's once again, that's
100%
extremely helpful.
For what it's worth, I was on a forum the other day somewhere on the internet, and someone was asking about great cons. And I was running to chime in to go, you got to go to North Texas. And luckily I'd seen where a lot of people had already mentioned, Gary Con, but then right there with Gary Con was North Texas. And a lot of people know it's almost like the best kept secret, but yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal con. Like I said, there's so many great people there, wonderful games, wonderful hosts. That's the reason why Eddie and I keep coming back year after year, and not just because in recent years, we've been guests or whatever, but regardless, you couldn't keep me away. I look forward to this all year long. I mean, maybe it sounds crazy, but it's a highlight of my year. I really is like Christmas when you were a kid. Like, I can't wait to go.
Okay, so let me tell this story. because every year around this time, me and Matt stop whatever we're doing. If there's any kind of risk involved, like there's no more mowing the yard, if you get, your allergies kicked up,
Stay away from the poison ivy, stinging insects.
can't do any
Someone's
home
coughing.
maintenance,
Get
it's
away from
over
me.
with.
They limit their travel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can take no risks because it's that important to make it to NTRPG.
Well,
Right.
we are 1 week away, and we are thrilled that y'all are going to be there.
Yeah.
I will tell the truth. May is a hard month for me. April is too, but April and May are hard months. But as I get closer to the last 2 weeks, I get more and more excited. And so I am really getting excited because I know I'm going to get to see all my cool friends. And so it's just, it's going to be awesome.
Well, one more quick one. We should mention David, because David's been a help to you guys, right? He made the new website, didn't he?
David made the new
He's
website.
done more than that. He's done
a lot more than that.
No, so we got to mention David. Thank you to you, David, wherever you're at. We appreciate you.
This year, you're going to see so we have, last year we announced our Hall of Honor, which are people, special guests and people who identify with the con, that are basically the heart and soul of the con. And every year we're going to pick 4. The first year we had 5. We had Doug, we had Janelle Jaquays, who's done almost all our logos, Dennis Astaire, who was there year 1, Tim Kask, who was there year 1, and Matt Finch, who's been to every single one of our cons, including COVID year con. And David made a very, very cool display that we'll see this year.
Fantastic.
It is really neat.
It is so cool.
We're going to have little things that are going to go on, like little magnet things, and every year we add more names. It's going to fill up. It's just going to be really, really
It's
cool.
a shield that he's done, and I'm telling you, it is so cool. The unveiling of that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
He did the website. He also has done a lot of support for other things. For example, he has been doing some stuff for Friday Night Battletech. He has done some stuff for some other games, and so he's just kind of done. And he also, helps Loeb. I mean, he's there. Kind of. The other thing too is that from a work perspective, David helps me be able to have time off because he covers a lot of work related stuff since we work together. And so, but yeah, he is. I know he's not in the spotlight as much as Mike or me. Mike is way always in the spotlight, and then sometimes me, and then hardly ever David. But David is a part of this.
You got to remember too that you see us a lot, but David has 3 small children.
Yes,
he's raising too. I mean, he is a busy guy, and so even though Gary and I get most of the FaceTime, David is behind the scenes. He does a lot of work, and he works.
He does, and he comes, and we have meetings, and he's included in everything. So I mean, it is a conglomerate partnership, but we all have our job, and so but David's good at the things that he wants to work on, and these things are so. I'm telling you, it's going to be really cool when we unveil that.
Okay, we're getting a lot of messages in the chat about the taco truck.
Okay.
Will the taco truck be there?
Yes.
The same taco truck from previous years.
That guy went out of business, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, not okay. Time it. Well, wrong taco truck. Not that guy. So there is a different taco truck, yes.
But this will be new and different. It won't be the man with the magical elotes.
No.
Okay. So you may have some cancellations now. We'll see.
Whoa, hey, no, that guy, he was a great guy, but taco the food truck business is risky. Sometimes you see these guys and they just disappear, and so
there are narrow margins in the food industry.
Very much
so I will tell you this: the one food truck that we do have every single day is Gina. The breakfast truck that does breakfast
was awesome last year.
Those sandwiches. I
ate there like
her lunch sandwiches and the breakfast sandwiches are fantastic.
Really good.
She is there every day from I think 8:30 or 9 until 2.
Yeah, well worth it. Yeah,
we need the elotes. We need that street corn.
But those breakfast sandwiches were freaking
fantastic.
Yeah,
barbecue guy is Thursday only for lunch. And then
orders needed, right?
Well, no, so that I've already submitted everything that people pre-ordered. I submitted. I think he's going to make about 25 or 30% more just to have for walk-ups and so forth. And then we'll just go from there and see until he sells out or whatever. The other thing that was going to happen this year, I'm going to mention, is I am printing up a flyer for the special guests when they check in, because the special guest luncheon, which is traditionally on Thursday, will be Friday this year. And but here's the problem. Last year it was on Thursday, and a third of the special guests didn't know it was happening. So I'm going to hand out a flyer so that all the special guests will know that there is a special guest luncheon.
Guess what special guest did not miss that lunch?
Why? This guy, I know.
We don't miss meals.
There's
Free
people,
fajitas. You're going to be there for free
I mean,
fajitas.
I'm just saying.
people can purchase the opportunity to sit with the special guest into lunch.
Yes.
Correct.
If you
And-
want a little alone time, yeah.
Yeah, and so the special guests will get in for free. I'll have to go look. I will. You know what? I will post on the Facebook page and Discord. I will post the price sheet for the luncheon. I forget what it was, but she actually sent that to me yesterday. So I'll go verify that.
It's really neat. Like the last couple of years, I got to sit with Jeff Telananian, and he's just such a great guy. I never really had a chance to interact with him. Awesome guy. Great having lunch with him. He does the Ash, the astonishing.
Hyperborea.
Yeah. He's a super neat guy. And anyway, just every year I get to sit with someone different, and we strike up a conversation, and it's really neat. And then the people that are sitting there, you can tell they're like, yeah.
And you're trying to convince your special guest, like, no, I want to, like, yeah, no, really. I'm like, yeah, thanks, guys. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, if Ryan allows.
No, we love having you guys there. We love having you
Absolutely.
guys there too, and so
Absolutely.
All right.
and
well,
then this
let
is
me break in
quid pro
for
quo.
just a second.
I'm going to be special guest this year. Your Connor. I mean, quid pro quo. Why? I mean, we're going to work this. I mean,
Well, just so we're clear, I don't make that assumption. Okay. So,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
a
you can
given
do
for
it.
I,
you, Gary.
hold on. I absolutely make that assumption. Oh, that's a deal
Okay.
breaker. What are you talking about?
Let me break in for a second. We got about 10 minutes left. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet, but because we're on the Goodman Games airwaves, I want to mention that we're going to have a DCC meetup on Friday in the library with a candlestick.
Oh,
So be
at the
there.
con.
or be
Nice.
square.
Okay.
And
I
that-
saw that on the.
What are you going to meet up? What are you going to do? What are you going to meet up about?
Yeah, I saw that on the
we're going
Facebook
to have
post
Kool-Aid
page, but
and
you never
cookies.
said what you were doing.
Kool-Aid and cookies.
Okay.
It's just going to be a hangout.
We're going to talk about the epicness of DCC and Goodman Games.
Did
Throw
you
the
want
medal.
me to add it to the schedule?
By the way, no, we had Joe Goodman the con once. You guys
Yeah.
knew that, I guess, right? Yeah,
Yep.
one time. We haven't been able to get him back, darn it. But
Gotta get him back.
Joe's a tough kid. He doesn't really. Joe doesn't do. He does Gen Con now, and he doesn't really do anything else. So he's
He
a
needs to
tough
come to
kid.
North Texas and have breakfast with us.
Mm.
There you go.
You guys need to work on that side. Then
We are.
I mean,
We are.
We are.
Joe's a good dude. Joe and I have done business over the years. He's a really good dude. He had at one point he had me looking for Appendix N books when he was doing his Appendix N stuff, and I scoured all the bookstores in Texas and had a bunch of. I sent him a whole giant box full of paperbacks, and so yeah, Joe's a good dude.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
got to work with him as a third-party publisher, and it was just fantastic. I was like, anybody that's wanting to put something out under the Goodman Games line, go for it. That's the easiest, bestest way to get your stuff out there.
Did you want me to add your meetup to the schedule?
Please.
I think it already is. I got a ticket for it.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I did. Okay. Look, it all runs together. I don't remember. There's 300 events this year.
But I had a lot of people asking for it. Because me and Matt have started doing a series of videos on how to get into DCC. So those have been very well received. And I'm like, hey, if you have any interest or you just want to hang out with other DCC folks, Goodman Games types, come on out. So
The best
Out there for everybody.
adventure of that I can say I've ever sat. I played D&D a lot in high school, but I played some since the convention. I've been in some games with Ben Burns and Steve Winters, some others. But the best adventure that I was ever in was on the trip that we went to Wisconsin and to play with James, and Matt ran a DCC game until like 3:30 in the morning in the hotel room, and it was the best adventure I'd ever done. He's an awesome DM.
Wow. Suck up.
I did not pay him to say that. But no, and I'll say my tournament game, I always run a tournament game at North Texas. It's usually DCC or MCC. It's something Goodman Games. This year is going to be a blood. It's going to be wild. Last year, people like Dr. Gillespie and David Bay were walking by, just stopped and just gaped because it was raucous. People were standing in chairs, screaming at each other, throwing things. It was phenomenal. It was a riot. So yeah, definitely come check out my tournament.
We're canceling that one. That's a little over the top.
Just remember, you're in the library, which is open to the world. So.
That's the idea.
You can retreat further back.
Poor Eddie, you put him in the room with me at the same slot. No one can at his table can hear anything.
Oh, a couple of things we didn't cover that I want to throw out real quick is
Sure.
Wednesday night is free. If you want to show up Wednesday night, the convention doesn't officially start till Thursday. You do not have to pay to get in Wednesday. You could just show up, and if you want to hang out, we had a bunch of people did that last year. They just came for Wednesday, and I never saw them again. They just wanted to see how everything was going, and they hung out and played games. And if you're in the area and you want to come out and chill with and meet some people Wednesday night, and what happens a lot of time is they come and they love it so much they end up buying tickets for the rest of the weekend. But yeah, that's our pre-con.
You get a lot of walk-ups on Thursday because of free Wednesday. So
yep.
Also, the vendor hall will be open at noon on Wednesday, so vendors can start to set up. They probably won't be selling anything till later in the evening, but so people that do come for free Wednesday can look around.
Yeah.
And one thing that Mike mentioned that I want to highlight, he mentioned it in a Facebook post, and I think on your 10-car show, was that if people want to come and not play in games but go to the vendor hall and look around, we don't charge for that. You can do that. So
yeah, support the vendors. Hopefully buy something.
He had brought that up, and I wanted to reiterate that
we don't want to make you play if you're not going to actually sit down and take a space and play a game.
That's
also, we will have some original publications only available at this con. This is a sequel to Before the Lost City that Tom Wilson and Charlie Phipps wrote. We have 200 copies. This is $25. We'll have these. It is a meaty 64-page basic D&D adventure. It's awesome.
Mike, show me independent.
I don't have the other one. The Independent Publishers Union did a digest. It's awesome. All the independent publishers, Jeff Talanian, Skeeter, Rocky, and Ian, Keelan Halverson, they all contributed to this book. It's a digest. I don't know how much are those, Gary. I don't know how much those are.
20, I think. I'll have to go look at my price sheet.
We'll have those in the front desk. So we do have some con related publications that are great, and they will.
And what's neat about some of those is Mike is prominently featured as in some of the art in these.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Because that was not they look cool.
Because I do the midnight auction, and for those who don't know, the midnight auction is a R-rated event that happens midnight Saturday night.
X-rated event.
It would not be Goodman Games approved. I will tell you.
No, it's R. It's hard R, but I dressed up like the devil, and I sell really useless stuff out of the warehouse. There's a lot of jokes, a lot of skits. It's just goofball, and we all have a great laugh. And once again, the money for that goes to the con too. And last year I had a brainstorm, and so I had Lloyd Metcalf draw me up a piece of paper it had Satan on it. It said, "I'm selling this soul, blah, 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 and here's why." And so we made a dozen of them. I wrote in names like Ty Beard and Jeff Talanian and Bill Webb, and then I'd write something funny in there. We sold those stupid things for like $50 to $100 a piece because everybody wanted to own somebody else's soul. And as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, Mark Greenberg bought all the lawyer souls. So he owns Matt Finch's soul, Ty Beard's soul, and who's the other lawyer that comes to our con? There's another lawyer. I can't remember. Not Bill Meinhardt, but another. Alex Kamer.
Alex Kamer, yeah.
So he had him framed and put above his desk so he could say he owns their souls. And that took like 5 minutes, and it got the biggest laugh of the con. People were just dying.
And also keep in mind the midnight auction. So last year, the auctions are very important to us because of the revenue that they generate for the convention. Okay. The Saturday afternoon auction was good last year and generated a great deal. But Mike set a record last year at the midnight auction for money raised for the con. And it was also probably the funniest midnight auction he's ever done. It was
It's
really
hard to one up every year, but last
well.
year
He's got some
Esther
stuff,
was amazing.
he's
It
got
was
some
amazing.
stuff this year that's going to be really good, and we have some one of a kind articles. You know, he talks about the stuff in the warehouse. You know, you never know. We might see some old.
We have some interesting things in the mid auction.
Yeah.
Too. And sometimes it takes me by surprise. I throw out something I think it's not going to do very good, and people are bidding up to $300. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Empty boxes for hundreds of dollars, man.
Just crazy stuff. But
Well, how
yeah,
about
we
the
have.
Long Con T-shirt?
Yes.
How did that do? I don't remember that. I don't
Oh,
hardly
yeah,
remember
that was at least $300 to $500 right there.
Who bought that? Who bought that?
I actually have all that stuff from last year. I can tell you exactly.
No, we did.
Oh no,
yeah,
that was years and years ago.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got my year one Long Con T-shirt. Maybe it's time for it to make an appearance in the mid auction. So never
know.
I don't know, but yeah, so that's fun too, and that we have the silent auction during the day, and that's where we lay stuff out on the. There's a big long central counter, and I laid like 10 items out every day, 10 lots basically, and there's a bid sheet, and you bid on the lot, bid on those.
Kind of catty corner the registration desk.
Yeah,
those are
usually
silent auctions. A lot of neat stuff.
They're usually donated stuff, but we have some really good lots this year. We got some, and it's just mostly kind of the weird oddball stuff that, like Steve Marsh donated a lot of history books one year, like all these books about ancient Greece and ancient Rome and how to build cities, this and that. So they've been sitting on the shelf for like 3 or 4 years. So now they're in a huge lot. We have this giant lot of arms and armor and stuff. So I don't know, whatever it gets, but it's like 10 hardback books. So stuff like that makes it the silent auction.
And it's also like war game stuff. I mean, we've got a lot of people donating stuff. But one year I bid on some stuff because it was BattleTech. They had some BattleTech stuff they turned in. Somebody was put in the list. And so, I mean, there's a little bit of everything. So,
all right.
Yeah,
we're hitting our stop time right here. If you got one last quick thing to throw out, but I will throw out, if you can only go to one con this year, this is the one to go to, even from us Long Con guys.
What about Long Con? No. If you can only go to con, go to Long Con. Go to Long Con.
If you can go to two,
we don't want you.
But if you can go to one, these are the guys.
If you go to two, that's ideal. Two would be ideal.
All right, then. By that clock on the wall, I can see we're all out of hit points.